what you mentioned about means to an end. Like money is not an end in itself, but a means to a happy life, comfortable life. Exercise, it's not end in itself, but you're exercising, for example, maybe so that you can carry groceries or help someone carry things. I'm also doing solo series on Aristotle's politics. I found very similarities with his understanding of the happiness. What is the purpose of the life? It has to be something that you pursue for the sake of itself, not as a means to some other end.
Right. And I think even if you don't take the whole idea of valuism, I think the idea of an intrinsic value, so the things you value for their own sake, is a very important idea, because I think people often get caught up in seeking and pursuing things that are valuable but not intrinsically valuable. And I think this is a big mistake. A classic example is someone, let's say when they're young, maybe they don't have a lot of money and they think, well, my life would be a lot better if I had more money. And they might be right. And then they start pursuing money, but then they forget the fact that they were pursuing it for like a specific goal because it would give them safety and security and comfort. And it becomes now an obsession to just pursue money, and they actually end up less happy than if they had pursued money less. So it's just very important to not get caught up in these sort of the seeking of values. You have to seek the intrinsic values. Is a much better strategy. Another thing that happens, which I think is really quite common, is people will seek things that other people find valuable instead of what their own intrinsic values are. So let's say in their social group, it's considered very valuable to pursue a certain thing. Or their parents think it's very valuable to pursue a certain thing. They'll start pursuing that and end up very unfulfilled and unhappy, and they won't know why, because they'll say, look, I am producing all this value. Well, the problem is it's not their intrinsic values. It's someone else's values. A funny example of this was I was talking to a friend of mine, this was many years ago, and she was dating someone and she was really unhappy. And she's like, I don't understand why I'm unhappy. He's such a great guy. And I was like, okay, well, let's do a little exercise. And I had her sit down and write what his great attributes were. And she wrote them down. And I said, okay, I want you to write down your intrinsic values. And she wrote those down. And he had all these great qualities, but they were completely non-overlapping with the values that she had. And then I said, okay, write down your parents' values. And she wrote them down, and they almost perfectly matched her boyfriend's. So it's like she had dated the guy that her parents had decided was the best guy, but she was really unhappy because it wasn't reflective of her own values.
Yeah, interesting. So you mentioned about like that it has comparative part, yeah, like comparing with the others. Do you think in the 21st century, in the world of social media, this is becoming even more problematic? Like you may have your own values, but then you're opening Instagram and you're seeing someone with the fancy car, and then you're questioning your life. Okay, what am I pursuing? Whether it is worth pursuing or not. So
I think that humans have a pretty strong like mimicry instinct. So when we see other people desiring a thing, many people feel like they desire the thing too. You know, you can see there's all kinds of trends, like, you know, something will become really popular and then everyone will be buying them. And if you imagine you were like an alien just watching this happen, you'd be like, why on earth does everyone think they need that same water bottle? Like, it makes no sense. You know what I mean? Like, it really makes no sense. It's not because of the intrinsic qualities of the water bottle. It's really like, it's desirable because it's desirable, right? It's like if other people stop desiring it, you wouldn't desire it either. And I think it's important to try to look for that impulse in ourselves. It's a very human, natural thing. It doesn't mean you're a bad person or anything wrong with you, but to look for that impulse that you desire things because others desire them, and then notice that in yourself and say, is that really how I want to live? Pursuing the things that other people simply because other people desire them? Or do I want to look inside myself and say, what do I fundamentally care about? What are my intrinsic values? I think it's a much better life to pursue what you intrinsically value rather than pursue what other people desire.